Welcome to A Quest for Metal, and welcome to a special video where we are joined by none other than the Metal fucking Meltdown. His channel will be in the description below for you guys to check out after the video, and we are going to do something special. We're collaborating on a list video. We're doing 5 overrated albums by bands. Could be bands we like, could be bands we used to like, or could be bands we really don't like at all. They're all coming up soon. So I'll let Robert introduce himself, and let's get started with his number 5.
Good morning, metalheads of the internet. My name is Robert Walton, and I am the host of The Metal Meltdown, a channel here on YouTube dedicated to creating a free and open space for all kinds of metalheads to discuss and debate healthily to their heart's content. We've done album reviews, we've done movie reviews, we've done opinion pieces, very long, almost podcast-like conversations about everything from funeral doom to the culture of heavy metal itself. We've hosted exclusive interviews with members of Intronaut, the Black Dahlia Murder, Cryptopsy, Exciter, The Ocean, and every once in a while, we also like to host very special live streams, which Quest for Metal has been a part of extensively in the past, in which we play games, shoot the shit, and drink an ungodly amount of alcohol. Why? Because it's fun and we hate ourselves. That's why. Hell, I'm drinking right now. Nothing ever stops me from having a drink. So if that all sounds good and fine to you, join me on the Metal Meltdown. Join the discussion, join the debate, or just come by the channel and tell me I'm a stupid fucking poser and dislike every video I have. I don't care, it means more views for me in the end. Enough about me though. Let's talk about the most overrated metal albums of all time. And you know what, let's start with one more shot for good luck. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. My first album is Haunted by 6 Feet Under, released September 26, 1995, via Metal Blade Records. I have consistently seen 6 Feet Under as perhaps one of the most generic, repetitive, and uninspired bands in the history of death metal. Their last 3 studio albums in particular, Graveyard Classics 4, Torment, and the very recently released Nightmares of the Decomposed, quite easily rank as the worst death metal released in their respective years, and quite possibly some of the worst death metal of all time. Why is that? It's simple. Because those riffs are fucking lazy, the production is fucking weak, and Chris Barnes officially sounds like a dog choking on a fucking pork bone. This is literally how he sings all the time. He just does this, and he expects you to think he's good. Now, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who would dare defend 6 Feet Under's modern output, but there is still a wide majority of people who would defend their debut album, Haunted. And sure, I guess objectively speaking, it is probably their best album. It is certainly miles ahead of literally every other album we've just talked about. I will happily concede to that. But is it a particularly good album? Is it a particularly memorable or interesting album? I don't really think so. It is ultimately a competent, average at best, just barely above mediocre death metal record, with incredibly uninspired death metal songcraft and production value, and an overall aesthetic that I would argue borrows a little bit too much from Obituary of the time. I don't know, maybe it's a generational difference. I mean, I was only a year old when this album came out, so I think it's safe to say I was not paying attention to death metal whatsoever, let alone the antics of Chris Barnes and 6 Feet Under. But nonetheless, I am sick and tired of people coming to this album's defense and pretending that it is this long-lost gem of 90s death metal. It isn't. It's fine. But that's about it. And y'all need to stop pretending that it's anything else.
So that was a great first pick straight away. I'm not really a big fan of any of them, to be honest. Any of the albums by them. I just feel like Cannibal Corpse just has better albums all throughout the board. Every single Corpse album is just way better than the best 6 Feet Under album. And yeah, they've never really tickled my fancy, scratched that itch, so good fucking pick. My pick is The Sickness by Disturbed. This one is heralded as one of the best kind of new metal, alternate metal kind of albums back in the day. And sure, back in the day I used to love it. Revisiting all the albums by Disturbed, this is not that good. It's not that good. Is it as bad as Evolution? No. It doesn't have all the ballady shit in, but it's still fucking awful. And this falls into the line of cringe. Like, when I'm listening to this album, I just feel cringe inside. I just want to curl up into a ball, sort of collapse into a prune, you know what I mean? It's cringy, some of these songs, like Dropping Plates on your ass. It's not fun, and then I never want to hear Down with the Sickness again. You know, the ooh ah! Don't want to hear that again, ever, in my entire life. Done with it, done with this album. And then you got stuff like Shout, let it all out. It's catchy, sure, but it's just cringe. It's fucking cringe. There might be more new metal kind of albums on my list, because I've just gone through I just hate them. I hate them now. Fucking hate them. And this is one of the most hated. And yeah, it's coming in number 5 on my list. So, fuck this album. Back to you.
Next up for me is Death Magnetic from Metallica, released November 12, 2008, via Warner Brothers Records. This album may not be held in the same regard as Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets or the Black Album, but make no mistake, this was a wildly successful album at the time of its release, selling millions of physical copies, debuting at number 1 on the Billboard 200. It won Grammys, it was critically acclaimed, people called it a return to form for Metallica. And I get it, I definitely understand it more than I do Haunted, at the very least. But also much like Haunted, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that it's a good album, even if just by comparison to other shitty records that they've made. It is a poorly constructed and arranged album with songs that go on for far too long, and an absolutely ludicrous sound mix that is absolutely overwhelming even on the lowest possible volume. Like, oh my god, sonically speaking, this is one of the most irritating records ever created. It is just so unbearably loud. Audio clips consistently in every fucking song, and performances and entire instruments and entire sections are drowned and caked and iced over in static and noise and metallic buffoonery. It is quite literally the equivalent to listening to somebody scratch their nails against a chalkboard for 75 fucking minutes. And honestly, even if the album were to receive a remix or a remaster or whatever the fuck we want to call it, there are still a lot of issues with the songwriting. There is no need for any song on this album to be as long as it is. You could cut at least 2 minutes worth of fat on every single song and lose absolutely nothing. And it's a shame because some of the songs here themselves, or at least the ideas at the core of these songs, are pretty fucking good. I think All Nightmare Long and Cyanide in particular are 2 of the band's strongest pieces of music since the Black Album. But Metallica's inability to edit and refine their own material completely fucks Death Magnetic right the fuck over. To reiterate, this is not Metallica's worst album, but it's definitely not worthy of the overwhelming praise and success that it achieved at the time of its release.
Wow, this one we actually disagree on. We're going to do some fisticuffs after this one. I love Death Magnetic. I love how long the songs are. I love how loud the production is. You want it loud, you want it long. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Yeah, but I can see why some people wouldn't like it. I can see your points. I disagree with them, but I can see your points. But yeah, my pick is gonna maybe be the first one that triggers some people. Maybe. It's Slipknot's debut. I'm really smashing the debuts today, aren't I? Yeah, this one I do like. I like it more than The Sickness. But the reason why it's higher is because it's held in such high regard. It's seen as one of the best new metal albums of all fucking time. And I'm like, no, it's fucking not. No, it's fucking not. Iowa improves on the debut in every conceivable fucking way. It's heavier, it's louder, it's more aggressive, it's more metal. It doesn't feel new metal, it feels like just a good album, you know? It goes away with all the shit that I hate from the debut, and again, like Disturbed, I went through all Slipknot's albums, and re-listening to them all, this is the worst. Grey Chapter's the worst, but this, sound-wise is the fucking worst. I hate the DJ scratches on it, I hate how just frantic everything feels. It does feel more new metal-y than all the other Slipknot albums. It just does. And that's the reason I fucking hate it. I'm sick of these songs, to be honest. Even like the catchy ones off the album, sick of hearing them. I hate the songs like Prosthetics and all of those songs. Just they feel too frantic, too unfocused. And don't get me wrong, this is a reason people love it. This is a reason people love it. People love the crazy shit on the album. They love the DJ scratches, all the fast and frantic vocal delivery lines from Corey. For me, I hate it for all those reasons. I hate it for all those fucking reasons. I'd rather them be focused. I'd rather listen to the radio-friendly Volume 3, or even All Hope Is Gone. I'd rather listen to them, at this point in my life, rather listen to them than this new metal piece of shit. So, fuck this album, fuck everyone who likes it, and if you think this one's going to trigger you, wait until my number 1 pick. Back to you, Robert.
Now, obviously, I have no idea how y'all have responded to my words regarding 6 Feet Under and Metallica, but I am pretty sure I know how y'all are going to respond to my words regarding this next band and this next album. Next up is Dr. Feelgood, released September 1st, 1989 via Elektra Records. Now, I want to make something clear. I understand that Motley Crue, and for that matter, glam metal as a whole, is not particularly popular. I get it. I truly fucking do. But that being said, I don't hate Motley Crue, nor do I hate glam metal. In fact, I've come to really appreciate a lot of key aspects of this genre, and truth be told, I really enjoy some of Motley Crue's earliest work. Their debut album, Too Fast for Love, in particular, I would argue is an extremely underrated metal record. But that said, it's hard for me to muster up much of a defense for Dr. Feelgood, an incredibly overproduced piece of pop metal schlock that, despite its pop metal schlockery, has very few memorable songs. Like, how is that possible? How do you create a pop metal album that doesn't have any good fucking songs on it? Pop music is just based on making good, simple fucking songs, and there are like 2 of those on this entire album. Slice Your Pie? It's stupid. It's corny. It's forgettable. Rattlesnake Shake? It's stupid. It's corny. It's forgettable. And the track Without You? Hands down one of the most boring power ballads ever created. Think about that for a second. How do you even make a power ballad boring? By default, they are so bombastic and over the top. Even when they're bad, they're still pretty good. And yet somehow, this is just bad. It fucking sucks, dude. I will give Motley Crue credit. There are 2 songs on this album that are actually fucking banging. The title track, Dr. Feelgood, and the absolutely outrageous, adrenaline-pumping Kickstart My Heart. 2 great songs alone do not make for a great album, and yet, this album is widely regarded as Motley Crue's best, which is just flat out wrong as far as I'm concerned. If you really want to get into Motley Crue, listen to those 2 songs, ignore the fucking rest of this album, go listen to Too Fast for Love instead.
Fuck yeah, we agree with this one. Motley Crue fucking sucks ass. Sucks mega ass. Hate Motley Crue. Don't like them. Don't really like anything they've done. Sleazy rock isn't my thing, so good job. My next pick, keeping on the new metal hate train, is Korn's See You on the Other Side. And not just because of the god-awful artwork. What is this albino-looking kid doing with his horse and rabbit, Alice in Wonderland-looking fucking trip fest? Fuck that art. Creepy as fuck, and the Korn have really bad arts altogether. Yeah, I was re-listening to Korn's discography for doing a ranking for the channel, and I came across this one, which I used to hold in high regard, used to fucking love, and the songs that I used to love in this album, I really can't fucking stand now. I'm just going to go through a lot of the songs in this album and tell you why they're really annoying. So first of all, Twisted Transistor. Really fucking annoying with that Twisted Transistor. Annoying as fuck. Don't give a shit about politics. It just feels forced. Hypocrites, 10 or 2 Way, sleazy. It feels just slimy, that song. I don't like it. Love Song's creepy. Coming Undone is one of the worst Korn songs ever made. I'm coming undone. I'm coming undone. It's so fucking annoying. This album is what people, when they said I hate Korn because of the vocals, this album is why. This is the most annoying Korn album they've ever fucking done. Every song is annoying. Every song just grates grates on you. It's like chalk on a chalkboard. It's annoying as fucking all hell, and I hate it. And I fucking hate it. Used to love it though. Used to love this album, but now I've grown into liking, music. This, trash. Absolute fucking trash. What else? We got Liar, awful. Tearjerker, awful. There's nothing good on here. There's nothing good on here. Overrated as fuck. One of the best Korn albums. No. Debut blows it out of the fucking water. Way less annoying. Vocals just way better. The newer stuff. Vocals way less annoying. So this is just trash. People's opinions are trash on this one. So yeah, fuck you.
Next up for me is Time 1 from Winter Sun, released October 19th, 2012 via Nuclear Blast Records. What an absolutely ridiculous and hollow piece of symphonic power metal crap. If you removed everything from this record, the glossy production value, all of the different instruments and keyboard parts and guitar parts and vocal parts, you'd be left with nothing, because at the core there is nothing here. There is no actual songwriting. There is no idea or concept whatsoever. Winter Sun just threw a bunch of shit on top of each other, made it sound as pretty and polished as possible, and then asked you to open up your wallets in order to support the sequel to this project. And then what did they do? They took your money, they fucked off to nowhere, and then they made a completely different album, and now they're asking you all over again to open your wallets yet again so they can essentially con you into funding yet another piece of symphonic power metal crap, which isn't even going to be the album that you want it to be. Let's all be honest with ourselves here. There will never be a Time 2. It's never gonna happen. It's fucking never. The day Time 2 ever actually sees the light of day is the day I eat my fucking shirt live here on YouTube, and you can fucking quote me on that. More importantly, going back to Time 1, there's just nothing going on here. It's extremely difficult for me to actually become invested in this album, because at no point can I actually focus on anything that's happening, because they're just throwing shit at you. Look, here's a crazy guitar solo. Look, here's a crazy chorus. Look, a bunch of violins and synthesizers and flutes and xylophone parts. Wow, doesn't this sound massive and weird and spacey and super professional? It doesn't matter how much of your fans' money you put into polishing a turd. It will still be a turd at the end of the fucking day. And that's what Time 1 is. It is the prettiest, most bombastic, and over-the-top turd that symphonic power metal, that Finnish metal, has ever shat out.
Holy shit, that was an amazing rant, and I love Winter Sun, but that was a goddamn good rant. And I don't agree. I semi-agree, okay? I semi-agree. Because Forest Seasons, for me, is so much better than Time, and everyone puts Time in such high regard, and I'm like, why? Forest Seasons is miles better. It's more focused. Each song has a purpose. Each song has a place. Whereas Time just kind of does feel like just kind of wankery. You know what I mean? But I still love it. Still love it, because I'm a big fan of Dream Theater, and I know you aren't. But yeah, I still enjoy it a lot. So that was, I agree and disagree on that one. So my pick also includes a lot of wankery. And it's not Dream Theater, because I love most of the albums, aside from one, but everyone hates that. It's not Opeth, it's not Liquid Tension Experiment, it's none of those kind of bands. It is Dragon Force. And you know the album. Inhuman fucking Rampage. Yeah. So I was a big Dragon Force fan. I really enjoyed Valley of the Damned. I really enjoyed Sonic Firestorm. Those two amazing power metal albums. Amazing power metal albums. They have speed, sure, they have technicality, hell yeah, but they also have heart, and it feels like power metal albums. Skip ahead to Inhuman Rampage when, Through the Fire and Flames came out and all that shit. It just went too far to just all about the wankery, all about the technical stuff, less about the heart and the soul of the music, and I still love those two albums, Still love those two albums. Valley of the Damned, holy crap. Disciples of Babylon, that song, fucking keyboard solo, oh. But yeah, then they fucked it up. They went too bibbity-bibbity, and they just vomited musical diarrhea. I don't know, that doesn't make sense, but maybe there was eating ass beforehand, and then vomited it up. So they sucked up the diarrhea from some other wanker and then vomited the diarrhea onto a musical sheet and was like, let's do that. And that's what it comes out with. All these songs, just too much. It's too in your face. It's like constantly in your face, flashing at you, and you're just like, please slow down, please stop. This is too much. This is too much. I know people say the same about Dream Theater. There's too much going on, but it's not. It's fucking not. Listen to Dragon Force. Listen to any album by Dragon Force after Sonic Firestorm. That's too much. That is too goddamn much. And if I keep listening to it, I'll have an ear seizure. My ear will just seize up and I'll start foaming out my eyes. That's what's going to happen if I keep listening to this. So this is overrated as fuck. Don't like this album. They ruined the first two, and I don't think they kind of got better. They still got worse, so yeah, fuck this album. Fuck this album. Now, Metal Meltdown, what's your number one pick?
Okay, yeah, maybe vodka wasn't a great idea. I'm starting to lose it. And finally, we have Posthumous Humiliation from Pissgrave, released March 1st, 2019, via Profound Lore Records. Now, to be fair, this album was not privy to the overwhelming praise and success of some of the other records that we've talked about so far. In fact, it has proven in a relatively short amount of time to be somewhat divisive for that matter, with some fans hailing it as a masterpiece of modern extreme music, and others dismissing it as an overrated, underproduced piece of metallic garbage and filth. For the record, I fall into the latter category. But even so, despite that division, Pissgrave still generate a lot of talk and conversation, and their albums are regularly included on best of lists from a variety of major music critics and publications. In fact, I can't really think of a major name in metal media that did not include this album on their best of list at the end of 2019. Well, excluding me, of course. And I just don't get it, because this is such an awful, awful fucking record. It is so fucking weak, so fucking boring, so fucking pretentious. It is trying so hard to sound and look and act like the most brutal and disgusting thing on the earth. And I guess objectively speaking, it might be. I mean, we are talking about a band that uses pictures of mutilated dead bodies for their album artwork. They certainly put their money where their mouth is on that particular aspect of their identity. I will concede to that. But really, in the long run, it means nothing. It's just a fucking gimmick. I could type in shitty death metal demo on YouTube right now and find a million fucking things that sound identical to Pissgrave, and yet Pissgrave is somehow held up as one of the best bands in modern death metal. Maybe not by the majority of metalheads, but by a very vocal and very powerful minority nonetheless. And I'm not having that. Not for one fucking second. Posthumous Humiliation is modern death metal at its most pretentious, at its most desperate, and at its most boring, and in turn, humiliating. And yeah, I think I'm good on this end now, so if by chance I didn't piss you off, and if by chance you want to talk more about heavy metal and join the discussion on the Metal Meltdown, all you have to do is visit the Metal Meltdown. I hope to see you there soon. Cheers. We picked a good time to end this, because now I'm definitely feeling the vodka. Back to you, Quest for Metal.
Thanks, you drunk bastard. Now go check his channel out. The link will be in the description below, as I said, and we'll end it on my number one. So my number one most overrated album of all time, an album held in a very, very, very high regard, considered the best concept album of all time, considered one of the best prog bands of all time. That's right, I'm gonna bash it. We're talking about Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche. Not the second one, the fucking first one. This is maybe a personal one for me. A lot of people might not share the same, obviously, because it's fucking held in such high regard. They won't share the same opinions as me on this one, but I can't fucking stand this album. I don't like the vocals. Jeff Tate's vocals just fucking grate on me. People say James LaBrie's bad. No. Jeff Tate's fucking awful. Almost put me to sleep. I listened to this with Jamie Horsley. He was like, you gotta check this album out, mate. It's the best prog metal album ever fucking made. It makes Metropolis Part 2 look like baby vomit, makes Still Life look like Oompa Loompa hemorrhoids. It's great! The best thing since sliced avocado. And I was like, well, I love prog. You know, I love Symphony X, I love fucking Porcupine Tree, I love all these other bands, I'm gonna like it. I didn't like it. It wasn't, I don't even know if it was metal. I know it is, but it sounded like a rock opera, kind of like Astonishing. But I'll give it credit over Astonishing, at least it's not 2 fucking hours long. So, I'll give it some credit. I can't stand the fucking singing. The story, I didn't like. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the fucking story. Like, I didn't care what was going on in the fucking story. And if that's why people like it, I can kind of understand, you know? I can kind of understand. The story just bored me to death. I kept saying, can I turn it off? And he was like, no, you gotta listen to the whole thing. And I'm just like, this isn't grabbing me. This just doesn't make sense to me. It's boring. The story sucks. I hate the singing. The guitar parts were cool, but there was nothing like, there's no crazy solos. There was no crazy solo. There was nothing like, there was no riffs. There was no chugging riffs or like sections where I was interested. There was nothing in the entire album that interested me. Fucking nothing. There was so many weird interlude parts and just sections where people started talking and I'm like, I fucking hate this. This is a play. I don't want to listen to a play. I want to listen to music. So after the album, I told him I fucking hated it, 0 out of 10. I thought it was the worst thing ever. And it's held in such high regard. You know, it's held in such high regard. But to me, it's fucking shit. It's fucking shit. And if Operation Mindcrime 2 is supposed to be even worse, I'm not gonna listen to it. I'm never listening to Queensryche again. This is one of the bands on my blacklist. You mention them, I'm blocking you. Yeah, don't understand the hype for this. Story sucked, singing sucked, the guitar, nothing stood out. Tried to listen to it 3 times, fell asleep the second time. I was forced it the first time, and then the third time I listened to one song and I was like, I'm done. I'm never listening to this again. So that is my hot take for the greatest concept album, one of the greatest prog albums of all fucking time. To me, it fucking sucks. So once again, thank you to the Metal Meltdown for being on the channel. Go check his content out. He does similar awesome fucking rants, just like his Winterson one, because that was fucking awesome. So go check him out, and hopefully you haven't disliked because of our opinions, because they are just opinions. Just because we say something sucks, you know what? I changed my mind. When we say something sucks, it fucking sucks. So don't forget to subscribe to PewDiePie, and we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.